You'll almost certainly recall that a little over 3 months ago, a congressman in the US was maimed and some of her constituents killed by a crazed gunman in the Midwest state of Arizona. What you may not know is that since then, before the killer has even faced trial, a further 2,400 Americans have been shot dead in a country still bitterly divided over gun control. Emma Dallimore takes up the story.
Meet Pamela Gorman, candidate for Congress in Arizona 3.
Hey, you! Hey, get away from that! I'm endorsing John McMillan because he gives a rip about Alabama.
It's part and parcel of American culture, entrenched from the Constitution down. Yet after the horror at Columbine High, 32 lives at Virginia Tech and the Major's Army Base massacre, the gun debate is relatively non-existent, even after Tucson, where a deranged college dropout opened fire on a congresswoman and her constituents with a legally purchased handgun and a high-capacity ammunition clip, firing 32 rounds in 16 seconds.
This showed how weak the laws in the books are. No law was broken. Even with his dangerousness to his fellow students, no law was broken until he pulled the trigger the first time.
But 2 hours away from the site of that massacre, the suggestion of gun control is met with ridicule.
There is a lot of gun crime here. Why not just get rid of the guns? Why not just have harsher laws?
That question is so biased, I don't know how to begin. Who would you give all these guns to? The government? You want to trust the government with all these dangerous guns? Is that the suggestion you're making?
When you think of gun-toting America, you might think of Texas or another of the deep South states. But here, parts of Arizona are still the Wild West. It has some of the most relaxed gun laws in the country. It is full of supporters of not only the right to bear arms, but to carry them in public.
Arizona's just voted to make the Colt its state gun. At a local gun store, staff are locked and loaded with hollow point bullets. Shelves are crammed with high-powered automatic weaponry and the special, a .50 caliber bolt action for $3.5 grand.
Why would anybody need that?
Ownership of property isn't based on need. I'm not sure I understand your question. Do you need 10 pairs of shoes? Do you need 30 shirts?
But they don't have the propensity to hurt somebody.
Oh. So you're attributing evil to the product instead of to the person who commits evil. Let me interview you for a second and see where this goes.
Sure.
Why haven't you been to a range enough to understand why a person would own a .50 caliber firearm? Why haven't you fired a .50 caliber firearm?
Because I'm not interested.
So you're not interested in one of the most fundamental human rights there is, and yet you're a reporter protected by the First Amendment. That's illogical.
Clearly, it's a passionate debate. Regardless of your standpoint, it's clear America has a significant problem. In 1 year, 35 people were shot in Australia, 39 in England and Wales, 200 in Canada, and in America, almost 9,500. Of course, statistics can be manipulated, so here's one from the other side. Studies suggest as many as 2.5 million crimes are avoided each year because of privately owned firearms.
People on the other side, you're too scared of guns and they want them to go away, as if that would save them.
He says there's little evidence gun control lowers crime. Washington, D.C. banned handguns in 1976. The murder rate jumped 76%. It jumped 40% with a similar ban in Chicago. And when Florida gave residents the right to carry, murders went down 36%.
These shootings don't happen in police stations or gun stores where everybody's armed. They happen where there's a mass of people who aren't armed.
Recent polls suggest more Americans are coming around to the idea of some gun control, but finding an opposing voice is difficult. The loudest belongs to the Brady campaign.
I'm not anti-gun. I'm not against the gun. But what the gun does to so many people, and making that gun so easily available to dangerous people like the Tucson shooter, irresponsible people.
America has a pro-control president in Barack Obama, but with a Republican House and the might of the National Rifle Association, it's not a debate he'll win. It's simply unconstitutional.
Go to a range, take an hour class, rent a few different firearms, try them out, hit a target, see what it's like, and you'll say what everybody else says at the end of that.
What's that?
Do you have any more ammo?